Hello there! Welcome to Levels Plus Weekly episode 22, where we're going to have a lot of Nintendo talk. It's been a while since Nintendo has been a topic on the show, I think. I feel like I've been talking about Sony and Sega and other stuff as of late, but we're going to be all about Nintendo today. So we're going to talk about Amiibo. We're going to talk about Nintendo's Direct during E3, and then if everything goes the way I think it will, I should have a nice array of Japanese imports to share at the end of the video. If not, you'll never know, will you? Let's start with the Amiibo. That's why I'm standing here in front of my huge shelf of them. Hey, look who showed up. Look who it is. It's the boy. Where are you going? It's been a while since you've decided to be a part of the show, bud. Anyway. So, Amiibo. Generally speaking, I've collected Amiibo for myself because I want to have figures of the characters, not for the nifty bonuses and such that they add to games. I'm just kind of looking through everything right now, and generally speaking, I think, I never used the Samus Amiibo and Samus Returns because I never got a 3DS NFC reader. Same thing with Celica and Alm from Fire Emblem Echoes. I bought them because I wanted to have the Amiibo, not to unlock stuff in the 3DS games. But for the Splatoon Amiibo, and since Pearl's right here, I'll go ahead and spotlight her. For with Pearl and Marina and all of the other Splatoon Amiibo, I have used them to unlock the various costume stuff and extra modes because I can actually scan them in with the Switch and the Wii U with the original game. And with the Warriors games, I've used them. Breath of the Wild, I used them. But generally speaking, it's all the Smash Amiibo I've not really used in Smash. I don't have an interest in building fighter. I bought Simon and Richter. Well, hold up Simon since he's right here. Not because they're in Smash per se, but because they're really cool figures. And I love Castlevania. It's my favorite series, so I wanted to actually have figures that I liked in my collection. The NECA figures that they did a long time ago were not what I wanted from Castlevania action figures, and now I have Sifa somewhere up here. I don't remember where I put her. From the anime, and I like the way that her character design is. So I'm okay with that, but generally speaking, that's what has been available other than really expensive statues and such, in North America at least. So when Simon and Richter showed up in Smash, I was like, Amiibo, and I have them both, and I love them both. But generally speaking, Amiibo haven't really felt like they were being manipulative. Most of the stuff that they have provided as extra content has been kind of just superfluous or just extra. Just didn't really feel like I was losing anything if I decided to not interact with that component. Until recently. 2021 has brought about a few changes to how Nintendo is including content on Amiibo, and it's a little concerning. So a little brief history before we jump into that. And that revolves around this Amiibo right here. This is the Wolf Link Amiibo officially. I call it the Midna Wolf Link Amiibo because Midna is one of my favorite characters. This Amiibo set an early precedent for extra content because when it came out with Twilight Princess HD, it allowed you to enter a new dungeon. And in that dungeon, you can power up Wolf Link to appear in Breath of the Wild. So it also has cross-compatibility. Wolf Link didn't really add anything to Breath of the Wild. It was ultimately just a cool little extra thing, like most amiibo are. But we're seeing quality of life features being used with amiibo now. And that's a problem to me and to a lot of people. Recently with Super Mario 3D World, we had amiibo compatibility with Bowser's Fury. I don't have a Bowser amiibo, but we'll just pretend that this is a Bowser amiibo for a hot second. So if you had the Bowser amiibo, and you scanned it during Bowser's Fury, you can trigger or turn off Fury Bowser, I think is what they call him. Which is kind of a nice thing to have if you want to, like, 100% that game, because waiting around for Bowser to turn on or to turn off so you can grab the cat shines, I think is what they call them, can be a bit of a pain, I imagine. But with that amiibo, you can eliminate some of that pain. But you have to pay $13 for the Smash Bowser amiibo, which they did re-release, thankfully. But it's kind of a downer if you think about it, because that's something that you should just be able to do. And now we have the Zelda and Loftwing amiibo that's coming out for Skyward Sword HD. With that amiibo, it allows Link to fast travel up to his Loftwing or back down to the ground at any point when he's outside of a dungeon. That is a quality of life feature. That should be something that the player should be able to do without spending $25 on a amiibo that's likely going to be in high demand because of the quality of life feature it includes. It already has sold out on Best Buy. I saw it show up, and then the next day it was gone. I don't like Skyward Sword, so I didn't care about this particular amiibo. But what precedent are we setting with quality of life features being added to amiibo? Will Breath of the Wild 2, will you be able to only play as Zelda if you have the Zelda amiibo? Which I do, but is that something that they would do? Is that a completely quality of life, huge bonus content level of thing that they would do? For Splatoon 3, would all of the Splatoon amiibo suddenly do more than just unlock costumes? Would you be able to unlock, like, a mode, or unlock the ability to have Pearl and Marina in the main area, or something like that? That's the type of thing that concerns me about this direction. With prior amiibo, it was like, with the Splatoon, it was costume unlocks, or like a goofy sub mode that really didn't do anything, or like photo mode with the characters. Didn't do a whole lot. Metroid, actually, the Samus amiibo unlocked a hard mode, or an extra hard mode, if I remember right. And then I think the Metroid one unlocked like a gallery. That's actually a early precedent of unlocking quality of life stuff. Most of the Smash stuff are just fighter figures, or whatever they call them in that game. It's not a great sign, and we've already seen how hard it can be to get amiibo. I'm still missing the Splatoon 2 regular boy, girl, and Inkling amiibo because I never saw them. Like, never. And I pre-order amiibo the moment I see them on Best Buy now, because I just want to make sure I get the ones that I want. The last set of Smash amiibo, which was Byleth, Terry, and Banjo, Banjo sold out pretty quick. Byleth and Terry, I think, had a little bit more frequency because neither of them were as big in terms of mass popularity as Banjo was. But if you just don't pre-order these things, generally speaking, they disappear quickly. And like I said, the Zelda and Loftwing amiibo is already sold out at Best Buy within like a day. So there's a quality of life feature for people who want to play that game locked away behind an expensive toy that is going to be hard to get. And Nintendo's re-releasing of these can be spotty. There's still some that they've never re-released across, especially in the Smash line, that I just haven't seen a re-release of. And at this point, it's like Nintendo's slowed down on amiibo. Like last year there wasn't that many, it was really just the Smash ones, but now we're starting to see like the Mario 3D World ones, and now we're seeing this Skyward Sword HD one, and it just concerns me that Nintendo is taking some very dangerous considerations for these figures, when ultimately what people mostly want them for is what I want them for, because Nintendo has been so stingy about releasing toys of a decent quality in North America that, and other companies too for that matter, like Castlevania, as I said earlier, that I bought these because they're really cool, well-made toys that I like having on my shelf. And you can kind of see up here that I have a whole bunch of higher quality stuff, but it costs more. And the price point for amiibo has been more or less pretty good. And I don't, it just, I feel like Nintendo is losing the plot on what people want amiibo for. It's not because they want to have quality of life features. It's because they want to have cool looking stuff on their shelf. That's my thoughts on the amiibo situation. Let's move away from here. We'll do a cat intermission, and then I want to talk about what I hope Nintendo does for their Direct at E3 this year. Nintendo is going to have a Direct during E3. I feel like I can speculate on some of it. I have anticipated, speculative, and wish list items. So let's run through what I anticipate being there first. I anticipate a Zelda thing. What Zelda thing could it be? I don't know. It could be Breath of the Wild 2. That would be lovely. I would love to see more Breath of the Wild 2. It's been 2 years. It could be Zelda Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD coming to Switch. It could be an announcement of a Zelda Direct. Something will happen on those lines. What that is, I don't know, but it will happen. There will be a Zelda thing at this Direct. I can guarantee it. I also anticipate either Bayo 3 or Metroid Prime 4 having something at this Direct. We haven't seen anything on Bayo 3 since the Game Awards in 2018, and we haven't seen hide nor hair of anything really of Metroid Prime 4 since the teaser in E3 2019. Both are ripe to have something shown, but I feel that if one were to happen, it's Bayo 3, because Platinum's had 3 years to work on it and hasn't rebooted it from scratch like Nintendo has had to do with Metroid Prime 4. I would love both to be there. I would be much more excited for Prime to be there versus Bayo, because ultimately Bayo doesn't do a whole lot for me. But one or the other is going to happen. And it would be awesome if both did. But I feel like if Nintendo ignores Bayo 3 and Prime 4 another E3, it's not going to look good for our Bayo especially. But I feel like there will probably just be, like, at most a teaser for Prime 4 and maybe an actual gameplay trailer for Bayo. But if one were to get dropped, it's Prime 4, for sure. I suspect that there will be some new Mario thing, but I don't know what it is. I don't know if we're ready for Mario Odyssey 2, or whatever the next 3D platformer is. But we also just got Mario Golf coming out in June, which I don't think they're going to really spend a lot of time on, because they just did a 5-minute, like, here's Mario Golf trailer this past week. And I don't think there's going to be a new Mario Party, because they just added online to the original Super Mario Party. Could they do a Mario Kart? That would be exciting. Although, honestly, at this point, I want a Smash Kart. Not gonna lie. They could do another new Super Mario Brothers game for the Switch. But they basically ported everything that makes sense from the Wii U. And I just don't know what they're going to do, but it would be odd to not have a Mario game in a Direct. So I think something's going to happen. I just don't know what it is. The last thing that I anticipate being there for sure is Smash reveal. And I think that is going to be the third-party character that I speculated on a few months ago. Who that is, I don't know. If I recall correctly, I haven't watched that video since February, but I think I was leaning pretty hard towards a Bandai Namco rep or a Koei Tecmo rep. And I still haven't really been changed on that front. But it could be just a complete surprise out of left field. I also anticipate that we will only see one character during this Direct. And I also anticipate we will not have any news about more DLC outside of this pass, as much as everyone wants it. I think Sakurai is ready to be done, and I don't see Nintendo wanting to do stuff without his involvement at this point. In terms of speculation, there's actually quite a bit. I'm speculating that we'll have a Xenoblade Chronicles X port announced during this, because Xenoblade's actually been in a lot of E3 Directs. They spotlighted it in the 2017 E3. They did the DLC for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in 2018, and then in 2019 they spotlighted the definitive edition with Shulk and Company's extra mode, if I remember right. So there's actually a lot of precedence for Xenoblade to be at E3, and I think that X is the next logical thing. I don't know if Monolith Soft is ready for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 to be revealed yet, or X2, or whatever they're doing next. I also feel like there's a good chance of something Metroid if Metroid Prime 4 doesn't happen. I don't know what that could be. It could be a Metroid Fusion remake. It could be Metroid Prime 1 and 2 coming to the Switch. Maybe not 3, because it's going to have problems with the controls, I guess. Just something to appease the Metroid fan base while Prime 4 continues to be developed. It will not be a full-on 35th anniversary nod, but it will be an acknowledgement of something. So if we don't get Prime 4 of any sort, we'll probably get something else. And that will specifically be for Western audiences that they're doing this, because Metroid has not sold well in Japan. I speculate that a Fire Emblem remake of some sort will be announced. I don't think we're going to get the next Fire Emblem game after Three Houses, but I do think we're going to see either Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn bundled together, or we're going to see Fire Emblem Awakening get ported up from the 3DS. And I would be happy with either of those. My hope is it's not Fates, because I would not be happy with that and would not buy it. I also think that we are primed for some other retro revival. Famicom Detective Club was out of nowhere in terms of localization, and I think that we'll see something else from the depths of Nintendo's vault that we haven't seen in a while. Will it be F-Zero? Will it be 1080 snowboarding? Wave race? Excite bike? Urban champion? Let's hope not. Kid Icarus? Something we just haven't seen in a while. And it will get people pretty excited, I think. In terms of the last piece of speculative stuff that I feel has a decent chance of making it, I also think that there will be some merit to those Donkey Kong rumors that we've heard, and that it will likely involve Donkey Kong, it will likely involve Pauline, because Nintendo has really been pushing Pauline since Odyssey. She's appeared in Mario Tennis Aces, she's appeared in the Mario Kart Tour mobile game, and she's going to be in Mario Golf Super Rush. I feel like it's high time for her to have another role in a platformer, and I hope it's not her being kidnapped again. It would be really interesting if they actually did something with her as a playable character. Wouldn't that be cool? So we'll see if there's any merit to that. What the rumors were saying was that it wouldn't be a country game. So I'm feeling like it might be like a sequel to Donkey Kong 94. Or Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Hopefully not that, because I really didn't like that game. But we'll see. We'll see if there's any merit to that. Now we're in Wishlist Town. And Wishlist Town is a quiet place where none of these things are going to happen, but I would really love it if it did. And we're going to just kick the door down. Nintendo Switch Online gets huge updates. And when I say huge, I'm thinking Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, GameCube, N64, and Wii. Just really just barreling through and making all of that stuff accessible on Nintendo Switch Online. We're in Wishlist Town. What I would, to dial that back a bit, I would anticipate Game Boy, Game Boy Advance stuff actually being added to Nintendo Switch Online, if anything. And Nintendo 64, GameCube, Wii, and DS games being bundled as their own thing. But I'm in Wishlist Town, and I'm going to hope that Nintendo Switch Online is doing something behind the scenes to be exciting and really get people re-engaged with the service. I'm okay with the eclectic stuff they've been doing for the NES and Super Nintendo, but fans want more from it. And a lot of the major third parties are kind of drifting away, and we're getting like really, really out there picks from B and C tier third parties. We're seeing Data East stuff, and we're seeing Natsume stuff, and we're seeing Culture Brain stuff, and Nihon Telenet stuff. And that's all well and good, but people want Earthbound, they want Super Mario RPG. And those are premium titles that I don't expect Nintendo to just release willy-nilly. If we're in Wishlist Town with Nintendo Switch Online as well, I really hope that they can get those third parties back in, and they can finally get Square Enix on board, because that would also almost be as hype as other consoles, is to get Square Enix involved with the NES and the Super Nintendo, especially the Super Nintendo, because there's so much that could happen that needs to on their front. That would almost be as hype. So both are unfortunately wish lists, because I think Square Enix just does not care to be on NSO. I think that they are quite content sitting on their stuff and slowly releasing it themselves for money, which is okay. I talked about retro revivals. The one that I would probably lose my mind over more than anything else is Star Tropics. And the reason I say that is because it is an American-only franchise when it was originally released. And HAL eventually got games on the Wii and the Wii U, if I recall. But I don't foresee Nintendo ever revisiting that franchise, and it's unfortunate because it's actually got a lot of potential to do something really cool with moving it forward if they just gave it a chance. My last wish list stop is more localizations of things that we've never seen. I want to see those Fire Emblem games after the first one get released somehow onto the Switch. I want to see like Marvelous for the Super Nintendo, Mother 3 for the Game Boy Advance, just to continue beating a dead horse. I want to see more of the visual novel games, adventure games that Nintendo did for the Famicom Disk System, like Yu Yuki or Shin Onigashimi. I believe I'm saying that right. Those would be really cool to have join Famicom Detective Club. I would love to see more of the stuff we never got localized, period. Just have it out there on the Switch, either on NSO or sell it to me. I don't care. There's so much of Nintendo's history that's locked in Japan that I think people want to play in English if they can. And there's been enough fan attempts to do so that I think Nintendo just needs to realize that they could sell it. Because people will buy it. That's my E3 speculation, anticipation, and wish list. I think that I would like to see myself return to this topic next week, but for third parties that might show up in the Direct. And what they might bring. Because usually Nintendo spends, I would say, about 2/3 of their Direct on their stuff, and 1/3 of the Direct hyping up other people's stuff. It might be more half and half, it depends on the year. But the Switch is on fire right now, and there's all kinds of potential for ports, new games, remakes, you name it, we could get hyped up about it. So I think we'll touch on that next week, because this episode already is a bit on the long side with the amiibo talk in this, and then me talking about my imports, hopefully. So we'll cut it here, and we'll come back to this topic next week. So we'll have a cat intermission here, and we'll get into those lovely, lovely imports on a different day, and me wearing a different shirt. But here we are, bright and early, having to really be creative with lighting because there's not much sunlight out yet. But we're going to get through this, and it's going to be fun, because I'm very excited about all of these. So let's go ahead and we'll knock out the non-Famicom items first. So, I can't believe I have these. I'm not even joking. So, first up is the Japanese GameCube Skies of Arcadia Legends, known there as Eternal Arcadia Legends, I think. It doesn't have like the slip that goes over this, but it has the manual and it has the disc, and the disc looks pretty immaculate. And knowing how much the GameCube version goes for in the US, I was shocked to see it originally go up for like $30 in this format, and I ended up paying like $20. So how cool is that? I have the Japanese version of one of my favorite games. And the manual's in full color, and it's actually like a nice, like, brand new art that was done for the cover. Unlike the one for North America, where Sega just recycled the Dreamcast default art of Vice and got really ugly art done for the advertising. Alright, so these two are really cool in a way. These are my first Sega Saturn games. I don't know if I'm going to get a Saturn anytime soon, but when I saw these go up at the price they went up for, I was like, whoa. And then the eventual price I paid for them was like, whoa. So I got Ogre Battle and Tactics Ogre. Both for like under $15 together. And they're complete. They have the manuals. The discs look fantastic. I have been infatuated with getting the Ogre series from Japan for some reason. Probably because I just enjoy Ogre Battle 64 so much, and I want to like collect it. It's really cheap. So this is the beginning. The rest, like, I can get Ogre Battle 64 boxed for under $10. So I'll probably do that at some point. And then I want to get Ogre Battle and Tactics Ogre on the Super Nintendo at some point. Probably boxed, because they're not that expensive. It just kind of blows my mind, really. But I have them in Sega Saturn form, which is just weird. The PlayStation ones cost a bit more, but for some reason the Saturn ones, which you think would be the more expensive ones, don't. I wonder if there's something about the port quality that's not that great. But in any event, I have them. That's really neat. I'm still kind of dumbfounded that they're sitting here in this house. So, speaking of things that dumbfound me that they're sitting in this house, let's get into the Famicom stuff. And in particular, I have a boxed, complete Castlevania 3. I forget the exact name in Japanese, but I'll plop it here. This is expensive. When this originally went up, it was over $200. But magically, people didn't jump on this, and it actually crawled to under $70. And that's when I got it. This is really, really cool. I looked over the manual and everything yesterday, and just so neat looking at the art and all that. But yeah, here's the manual. And here's the game. So I have the 3 mainline Castlevania games on the Famicom in complete condition, which I never thought I would have. Doing that in America would be prohibitive. Prohibitively expensive, but altogether I probably paid like $120 to have all 3 in box form, and this was the expensive one. So that's just rad. I'm so excited, and I'm still trying to figure out if I actually want to commit to owning more games in the series from Japan. I'm not sure. It's an expensive venture. So while I was looking at carts and stuff, I wanted to see if there might be like really good deals I could get on box stuff. And lo and behold, Parodius Da happened to be only $1 more box than the cart I was looking at. And it's complete. There's the game. There's the manual. The manual's pretty beat up. But for like $1 more, I'm all for it. The Proteus series is one I've wanted to actually play a little bit. I'm looking into the Super Nintendo ones as well. But it's just super rad that of all the games, like this one has been one that constantly gets bought out from me. And I finally got it at a good price, Like, it was like $21 for the box copy versus the cart, which was 20. So I was like, I'll take the box, sure. So that's all the box stuff. The rest is just cart only. And we'll start with the second to last one I need to finish book 1 on the Japanese side, which is title I can't pronounce because it's very long. This is Vic Tokai's first game, and there's a princess in it that you have to rescue, because that's unfortunately where a lot of these end up going. But she does have a more involved role at the end, where she actually does the thing that saves the day. So that's at least an improvement in some sense. Next up is Twinbee 3. I think I mentioned when I got Stinger or Moeo Twinbee that Whip and Winbee would be returning in this game, and it was there, so I grabbed it. So I'll cover that in 89. Next up is Rockman 4, one of the 2 Mega Man games that will be in the book. At least in the mainline series. The other one is the original Mega Man, and it's very expensive. Both the American and the Japanese version is very expensive, so I'm not too thrilled about having to cover that in book 2. On a cost level, it's like, I think the one that I'm looking at right now is like 60 to 70 when it starts for the Japanese cart, just cart alone. And the American one's like probably around that, if not more. But Roll briefly appears in that one, and I'm trying to remember her name. Dr. Kozik's daughter. Right down here, I'll just put it there because I don't want to say it wrong. Oddly enough, as much of a fan of Capcom that I am, they didn't have a ton of games with women in prominent roles that I've come across anyway on the Famicom. They certainly did later. Off the top of my head, there's Mega Man and Mega Man 4, and then Mighty Final Fight, and with Poison appearing as an enemy there, but there's not much else that immediately leaps to mind out of everything they did that's not a port. So, some book 2 stuff. This is Megami Tensei Digital Devil Saga or Story. I don't quite remember. Namco was originally publishing this, and they published the sequel as well. But there's a prominent playable character, which you can see her walking up the stairs there, and she's on the top. I forget her name, but as well as a couple of the demons, I think we're going to cover in book 2. I believe this will be the last one for book 2 that isn't a sports game, but this is Elrond, but we know it in America as Wizards and Warriors. Yes, that game actually did make it into Japan, but we'll be covering it in book 2 because there are multiple damsels in that game, to the point that I almost couldn't ignore it. Oh, right. And then I got Final Fantasy III, finally. I've been kind of on the fence about picking this one up for a while. Because it's so far down the road, but finally got one at a good price. This was another one that kept on getting snagged when I was going to add it to my cart. I've got 4 Kunio-kun games. Is this title that you see down below. This is a period play that the cast of Kunio-kun appears in, and I guess it's kind of like River City Ransom, just set in like medieval Japan. This one is a hockey game, and this one's actually really kind of rad because it has women as playable in it. So that one's actually going to be in book 2 for the sports section. This one, I want to say, is one of the like competition ones that they did, but I'm not 100% sure. Title down below. And then this one is what we actually got localized as Crash the Boys Street Challenge. So this will be interesting to actually compare down the road. This one might actually be in one of the last books. Actually, if it wasn't for the hockey component, the hockey one would be as well. But and last but not least, I've got 3 big Jalico carts. 2 of them are from the Ninja Jajamaru series. So this one is number 3, and this one is number 5. These 2 are the ones that I'm actually most excited about because they're the ones that Sakura is actually playable in. This one is an RPG, and then this is kind of a throwback to its platforming roots, but it's more like Mario 3. And you can play as Jajamaru or Sakura, and it has like a space theme to it for some reason. Last but not least is Magic John. This got localized as Totally Rad. And by the time we actually start covering these games, I'm not going to be doing Damsels in Distress and Prominence quite as much. Mainly because there's so many. And I'm covering them more extensively early on to kind of set the precedent. But I don't know what her name is in the Japanese version, but she's prominent enough in the story. Like, it's not like she's just there at the end. Like with Wizards and Warriors, like the princesses don't really do anything beyond being there at the end for cheap pixel titillation. But in contrast, at least in Totally Rad, the girlfriend character appears a lot in cutscenes. So that's kind of the line I'm starting to draw. So 86 and 87 will have more of the like really bit parts of Damsels featured, but as we start moving past those 2 books, I'm going to really start focusing more on characters that have a much greater role in the story. So like Peach, for example, her appearance in the original Super Mario Brothers probably wouldn't be noteworthy enough to include in the later books, but because of who she is and the precedents that she set, she'll be in the first 2. If that makes sense. So that's kind of the plan for Femtendo in terms of where we're going. So yeah, I only need one more game from Japan for book 1, which is Soisho no Dragon, which is another Square disc system game. And I'm going to be curbing my purchases from Japan for a little while, because I only need one more thing for book 1. I only need a few more things for book 2. And book 2 is going to probably not be until next year at the earliest. My hope is to try to get a lot of progress on the book design and all that going over the summer for this, while I'm waiting to get the American carts, and then try to get many of those over my upcoming trip, and then kind of fill in the gaps in the fall, and then try to get this thing out at the end of the year with any luck. We'll see how that goes. I'm being optimistic. So there we go. That's all of the cool stuff that I've got from this last big order. I do want to take a moment and thank the generosity of a donor who donated $200 to help with my research, and I used it to purchase most of these. The Skies of Arcadia and Ogre games I bought myself. But basically this was because of that donation. So I want to thank Lewis and Rachel Whale for their very, very kind and generous donation. It really means a lot to have your support on this, and you'll be credited in the books moving forward. I'm kind of viewing it as like a super Patreon type of thing. So huge respect to the Whales for their help. If you have the desire to help and get called out during random Levels Plus weekly videos, plus the books in the future, you can check out my Patreon, which is helping me get all of these lovely carts and just make that dream closer to being a reality. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed checking out all of these cool import items, as well as the discussion on what E3 could be and my thoughts on Amiibo's direction. We'll see you next week. We'll talk about what else I'd like to see at E3, and I'm sure something else will pop up that I'll want to talk about as well. If not, I've got plenty of collection videos. I could probably do the some Famicom one. It will take a long time to get through, but we could potentially do that one if I don't think of anything else. But until next week, friends, I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope that June starts well for you. I hope you enjoy the 3-day weekend. If you are in the United States, it's Memorial Day weekend for us, so we get that extra day. I'm taking an extra day. My hope is that Evolve will be up on the Amazon storefront by the 1st. That's my goal. So I'll have a link for my next book, hopefully next time as well. So until then, take care.